I have some new launches I want to talk about. I have some old things that I'm going to use today, and we're just going to jump right into it. Okay, we're going to start with the eyeshadow today because I've actually been using these eyeshadows for the past couple of days. Listen, normally it's really hard for me to get excited about eyeshadow, but I also wanted to do just some more testing. Also, I got it in advance, so it's like a more relevant release. It's from bellabeautébar, and they're launching 4 things, and I believe it's on August 3rd or 4th. I will put the correct date on the screen. And I'm also affiliated with the brand. My code is hautemesstom. It would save you 10% if you happen to be interested in it. I'm going to tell you my experience about it so far, and then you can take and run with the information I provide for you, whether or not you think it would be worth it for you. Like I said, we're going to start with the eyes. I'm going to prime my eyes with the NARS Smudge Proof eyeshadow base, which I was putting this on the other day, and it's like, I think I've had this for like over a year. I wonder when it's going to dry up. It's not. It still feels as like liquidy and fresh as it ever has, as much as like a tacky thing can. I don't wear makeup every single day, so mileage will vary, but if you're an occasional makeup wearer, honestly, I really like that. I might try the Sigma eyeshadow stick bases after this when it's done. Just try another thing from Sigma. Here's the first star of the show. We'll go one thing at a time as I'm talking about it. This is from bellabeautébar. This is the new Melted Matte Eyeshadow Palette. And here's what it looks like on the inside. So we have 2 rows of like browns, leaning cool, leaning warm, neutrals. You know, we have all 3 of those things happening right there. Bottom, we have some more colorful things and some neons. How I've been approaching this palette is I've been pairing it with the other palette, which I'll show you, which will be relevant in a moment. But I'm just setting the eyeshadow base, this shade right here, and now I'm just noticing, which I actually kind of appreciate, the shades aren't named on this palette, which I think is smart because they are kind of like I don't know, like what do you want to name a white shade? bellabeautébar has moved to removable pans for all of their palettes now and going forward, so they are removable. I had the Secret Garden palette and there were names on the back, so now I'm like, wonder if they do have names, we just can't see them. No, these ones aren't named. Let's talk about the other palette we're going to be using today because they're launching too. So first up, Melted Mattes, and then we also have the Molten Chromes palette, which this is like my dream kind of thing. It's a 6-pan palette of shimmers. I think they're all multi-chrome glitters, and then there's one, I think the one we're using today is the holochrome, which I actually don't really love those kinds of shades. But my approach, I've been using this for my mattes recently, and then I got this a little after I got the matte palette, and I'm kind of just doing photo shoots with each of the shades on my eyes. So today's shade, I'm on day 3 of testing out the palette. I'm going to test the shade Molten on the lids today. And I do think that this is the holochrome. I have said in the past that I love bellabeautébar's mattes, and I still do. However, I have been having issues with the neons down here. They don't really want to stick. So I'll post a photo over here of one of the looks where I tried to use the neon on my inner corner, and it just like disappears. Now, I know that neons are kind of like really hard to formulate because there's a lot of white in them, and that tends to make the formulas feel different. And I will say there's a lot of kick up in this formula that I don't feel like happens very much in the other mattes that I have from them. But you can even see in this shade right here, there's like that kick up from when I used them yesterday. They're very, very soft. Whenever you look at the neutral shades, the kick up and the denting is just, it's not like those. So I think it has just something to do with their neons. I've used their colorful mattes in the past, in the Secret Garden palette, in the Smoky Glam palette. So I've used their colorful mattes before, and I haven't had that issue before. I just think it's because they're neons. I have yet to use this green one because I like to use neons on my inner corner. That's like where I like to use them. I think we could use it today. The flip on this kind of goes green. Yeah, I think we could use it on the inner corner today. So there's that. Yeah. Flips to like a pink. Maybe that's not the holochrome. Oh no, it is. It has a little of the holographic glitters in it. But what I will say is I had some other holochromes from them. This one, the holographic flakes seem much thinner and like better dispersed. What I'm gonna do is use some of the browns to build structure, and then I will put the green down here on the inner corner and just kind of show you what I mean. What I also will try today, because I have not used it directly on a primer, I'm gonna try that today to see if that works better. I'm gonna go with the more neutral browns today. And like the neutral shades perform as I always know bellabeautébar's mattes to perform. So there's no issue there, which is I'm thankful for. I have been having a bit of a tough time emotionally recently. I have like just started coming out of the funk that I feel like I've been in for the past couple of months. Like it's been deep, dark, and mysterious in my mind. Not mysterious, just deep and dark. And I finally feel like I'm climbing up the ladder a little bit. Getting this PR in the mail got made me feel like PR did when I like first ever got PR. And I don't know that it's because of the what was sent to me. I just was like very excited about this release. Of the releases that I've tried from even bellabeautébar, it's not the most exciting thing I think that they've ever done. But it's like, for some reason, my brain was like, this is great. We love makeup. And I do think it has something to do with holiday season's right around the corner. The next Critical Sass, we're going to have a lot to talk about. There's like nonsense happening. We're on the precipice of holiday releases starting to come out, or at least like some fall releases to come out. I got like excited to even just like talk about makeup, because I will say this, the past 3 Critical Sasses, I have found it very hard to do content like that. And which is why I like have been experimenting with, you know, some fashion and some fragrance content, because I was like, the makeup right now just sucks, and like diverting my attention to something else was very nice, because it felt like just, I don't know, it felt good to talk about just something that wasn't makeup. I mean, I know that I kind of said that when I did the Critical Sass where I just sat. Like, I was a little bit injured whenever I filmed that video. So, like, it was, like, for comfort reasons, but also, like, if you even watch, I wasn't even that excited about anything we're talking about. And I mean excited, like, negatively or positively. I don't really care about any of this. I'm happy to have the good feelings coming back. I posted that Suku video on Monday, which I recorded back in January. And I'll talk about it more in the Suku video coming up when I do the review, which it should be my next video. I've been having a hard time with that one. I was having a hard time figuring out how I wanted to talk about my experience with those products. But also, I just feel like a lot's happened this year, like personally and just internationally, that just have made me feel like so bananas. And I think that that makeup represents like a very specific time that I'm not connected to anymore, because, you know, I always associate like what I buy with like around the time that I, you know, bought it. I think a lot about, I remember when I bought Charlotte Tilbury, my channel was much smaller, and I like bought it at that, it was around my birthday time, and I had this really detailed review up in December, and it's like, you know, I claim not to like Charlotte Tilbury. Anyway, all of that stuff, like I remember, but like I don't really want to remember the Suku, like when I bought the Suku stuff. And I think that's like been a hard part. I'm not going to include that part in my review, because like I also have found it difficult for other reasons. I think that there's going to be a lot of like context needed for that review. And I also have 2 days off this week. I was originally supposed to go see Missy Elliott in Baltimore, but me and Tiff decided not to go, just to save money. It was like one of those things that, you know, in the moment it was really exciting, and in the moment I think both of Tiff and myself were very, very sad. It was like a bright spot in that day. I'm fairly certain the child was like homesick the day that those tickets released and got announced, so we were like very excited. You know, it was one of those moments where it was just like, so there's the blend before the neons. Beautiful blend, what I've come to expect from bellabeautébar. Great, let's move on to the neon. So watch this neon work really well. I've seen some other people use the neon and not have any issues, or like if they did have issues, I didn't see anything about it. And most of the time, like Instagram's just kind of like look based, and that's not to discriminate against Instagram creators. Very rarely are they like reviewing product. They're just kind of just like showing you the product. Some people review product on Instagram. I just like to look at people, and I think I mostly follow people who do looks on Instagram, and they're just like showing me, and that's fine. Something to say for the neons, I also have done like blown out looks with the neons. The blown out looks turn out okay. I think that the neons are a little bit patchy when you do that. They're definitely something that needs to be like kind of packed on, but I have noticed that my synthetic hairbrushes work a lot better with the neons than my natural hairbrushes. So that's just something to be aware of. And so what I did just now is I primed this with the NARS Smudge Proof eyeshadow base. I'm not gonna prime this eye. So this first one we're gonna do it on primer. It's very promising when you get it on the brush, but I feel like whenever you get it on the lid, it's a different story. Oh, and kind of what I just said was true. This neon worked a lot better than the other ones. If you have this palette, if you're someone who has like sent this palette, let me know what your experiences with the neons have been. That showed up the most, but it's also on the primer. So let's try it on the unprimed side. I mean, honestly, it still kind of showed up pretty well. Like some of the other ones I had to like build up like with 5 passes. I posted a look yesterday and I didn't like the blend on my inner corner. So I'm gonna just make sure I like blend that a little bit better than I did yesterday. These 4, so this one, this one, this one, and this one. So those 4, they were like not really wanting to show up. I haven't tried like these fiery shades, but they're not really neons like this bottom row. So I have a feeling that I'm not gonna have like as many issues with them. This pink showed up. Is it, I don't need like a pinky red, like I don't know what to call that color, but that showed up okay. This was what I used in my inner corner and it like didn't really show up. I don't know. But the yellow or brat green, whatever we want to call this color, this is a neon yellow in my brain. I see the green in it. I'm not, you know, I don't dismiss it, but to me it's a yellow. But like this lime slimy green, I always just think of as yellow, like a neon yellow. Let's move on to the shade Molten, which is this one right here. I swatched it for you earlier. I have been using a glitter primer. I've just naturally been gravitating towards the glitter primer. When I use these kind of things, I mean, I did my eyeshadow first for a reason because like I have gotten some fallout from the shimmers. If I'm doing these kind of really bold shimmers anyway, I think it's smarter to do my eyeshadow first. And I was recently reminded of that whenever I used Industrial Palette from Izamea in a video not that long ago, and I was like, I should have done this first. I was using all these shimmers. Recently, I had been using more like softer shimmers, so I just like not that I forgot, but like, you know, I quote unquote forgot, like I just like wasn't thinking. I'm making an official statement on these. So these are silicone applicators. Bellabeautébar sent them to me. They sent me like a set of them. I have been reaching for these over using my fingers to apply shimmers. When I have press-ons on, which I don't have press-ons on right now, I have painted my nails. I don't know if you noticed. When I have press-ons on, it's really hard to get like on the inner corner whenever you have like long nails. These apply most, not all shimmers. Softer formulas, it tends to apply them a lot better than like a more firmly pressed shimmer. And all of the shimmers in here are more softly pressed. That's kind of like Bellabeautébar across the board. Their shimmers tend to be softer. So, but it like picks it up great, and then it also applies it really beautifully. It takes, I think, a little bit of adjusting to applying with the silicone applicator. I think it's worth it. I think it's worth it, especially if you're someone who wears a lot of like, if you have acrylic nails and you do like applying shimmers with your fingers, I think you would really like that as a tool. I'll blend out the shimmer in a second. That's, I think, maybe like the one downfall. I do think the edges don't blend as well with a silicone applicator, but I think overall that's like, I mean, that's what brushes are for, quite literally. I just grab a brush to do that. I think that like the fallout with the silicone applicator is pretty minimal, if I'm being honest, but I still think this works best if you're doing your eyeshadow first. And look at that. That's a pretty shade. And if that is the holochrome, I think that's the first holochrome I've used and enjoyed. And that's not like, you know, trying to be dramatic or anything. It's still not like I don't know that I would say that's a favorite shimmer. I also think I just like this color more than I feel like the holochromes I've tried so far have been jewel toned colors with the holographic in it. I don't think I like that. I think I like this like champagne-y situation we have going here. The silicone applicator, I think that like you probably could buy these pretty cheap on Amazon. Bellabeautébar sells the pack for $10, which I don't think is that bad. But if you're like on Amazon already and you're like placing an order and you want to add these on real cheap, I think that would also make a lot of sense too. I like the quality of these. These are the ones I've been using if you're looking for like a personal recommendation. Here we go. So those are the eyes. Still working hard on the Victoria Beckham primer. I'm shaking it and I cannot hear anything moving around. I think this is more of like an any day scenario, will be like when that finishes up, and I'm looking forward to it actually. I am bummed that I'm not going to Baltimore. I'll have to look up the place because I can't remember the name of it, but I think it's still open. Last time I checked it was still open, and I think it was less than a year ago. And this is gonna sound crazy because people that I know that like live in Baltimore or have lived in Baltimore said that this was like one thing that they could never find when they lived in Baltimore. There was a pizza place that I still think about to this day. They did like Detroit style pizza. They used burrata cheese, which is not like, you know, completely foreign to me, right? Like I think a lot of people are familiar with burrata, but like on pizza, I feel like it's not so it was so good. It was so good. The pizza was so good. I think about it to this day, like honestly. And it was like this small little hole in the wall place, no reservations. They opened only for dinner. I don't know about now. I feel like a lot of places that formerly wouldn't do like Grubhub and stuff, I think since the pandemic have started doing things like that just to keep in business. But at the time, they were like very low key when I was there. And I was looking forward to getting pizza from there for dinner when we were there for the concert. I still have shimmer on my face. I still had some fallout. All right, so I primed my face. I have been loving using the Glossier skin tint. Again, I just been like loving it. It's so great for like easy makeup. I'm actually making some like decent progress on this bottle, which is great. I do think when I'm done with this, I'm just gonna commit to the Lisa Eldridge one because I do like it a bit more than the Glossier. I still think the Glossier is really good. It's not that I wouldn't ever get the Glossier again after I finish this bottle. And I am like obviously very much enjoying using it. But I think having more than one kind of thing with this lighter coverage, just, you know, they're just distracting me from one another. It's like I'm either using one or, you know what I mean? I'm just using one or the other, which I guess in most cases I'm only really using one complexion product like foundation at a time anyway. Godspeed to the people who like mix and match multiple like foundations on their face. It's just not me. It's not me. I get it. I think there are benefits to it, especially when I did that Becoming series on Hannah Louise Poston. Like in the video that I did, like she mixed a bunch of things together. I think my complexion actually looked really good when I did that. It's just like, I'm not gonna sit here and play alchemy in all my pills and potions, you know? Concealer, I'm just gonna use the Surratt Dewdrop Concealer, just a little bit under the eyes. Wonder how much of this I have left. The thing about this is like, there's really no way to like check. There just isn't a way to check. One day it's just gonna stop clicking. It hasn't yet, but I also don't click out product every time because it's one of those sponge applicators and they hold so much product. Look at that base. Shut up. Contour, my usual contour, the Intuition. Does summer just like go so fast for everyone? I feel like every summer, when summer ends, I have the best of intentions of like doing more things the next summer. And that's not to say, obviously there's still some time for summer left. We have all of August, right? We have all of August, but like I don't normally go swimming or anything like that. Like that's not my gig. But then I like have been feeling bad that I haven't gone swimming this year. The other thing is I don't buy swimwear appropriate for most places. I don't know who... I don't know where I buy this like really slutty swimwear. Who do I think I am? Not that I wouldn't wear it, but like it's not for a Pittsburgh audience, you know? It's just not for like I have this this one pair of Speedos. Well, not Speedos, but they're like a brief swimsuit. And there's like they're not Nikes because it's like the whole thing about them is like they're kind of making fun of Nike, but there's like a Nike swoosh on the butt and it's just mesh and you can see my butt cheeks, which I think is really cute and would do really well if I was at like a gay resort. But I think for like the community pool in Pittsburgh, that's a bit too much. And I have a couple brief swimsuits like that. And it's like, the other thing is, I don't know, it's like I bought them knowing that I was never really going to wear them. And then if I bought like trunks, I also wouldn't wear them or go swimming. So it's like a snake eating its own tail. It's like, I know I'm never going to go swimming. And to ensure that I would never go swimming, I have swimwear that I would never wear. No, that's not to say I would, if I was going to like a gay resort, I would wear them if like that was the vibe where I was. But like not the Pittsburgh public pools, babe. I am going to Palm Springs. Oh, I need to email them. In the fall. I'm going to like a Creator and Friends event. But I'm going like a couple days early to just like have some time to myself. So I'm not only going to be there for that. But I don't think the resort I booked myself at is like a gay resort. I didn't do that much research. I just was like, I'd like to go. So I need a swimsuit any which way. Because I do want to swim when I'm in Palm Springs. whether it be at the Creator of Friends event or just, you know, at the pool at this place I'm at before there. I'm gonna use this highlighter today. I will say, something I have, because like this is all being released as a collection. There's the baked blushes, the molten chromes, the molten mattes. I do feel as though the molten chromes all lean a little bit warm, maybe except for this one, but there's like a lot of like warmth in them. In this palette, there are like warm and cool tones, which I think is great. It makes it more versatile. Everything, the neons and the colorful parts are more warm leaning. These two are very warm, and a couple of them are like more cool toned, but like I did like a coral eye look yesterday, and then I like went in with these blushes and they didn't really make sense. I don't know. I think that like on its own, if it wasn't like in this collection, I'd be like, cool. But like in the collection, like the way that the looks have been coming together, it's like the blushes, some of the blushes in the palette like aren't working with the other stuff in the collection with the looks I've been doing. But that's also like there's some user error to be said therefore. Anyway, I'm gonna be using this highlighter. It's the Torche Lumiere in Diamanti, my favorite highlighter. I was taking a good look at the Chanel bronzer I used today, and it was really funny. I don't know if it'll show up on camera. Just like all of my other cream products, there's some hair in here. But there is just some shimmer in this product to begin with. But there are some like colorful shimmers in there. And I was like, well, of course. I'm glad I just do my makeup on me. Sometimes whenever I show my makeup off on here, I'm like, it's really well loved, but it's also like kind of gross. If I just got a little bit louder, I apologize. Just looking, the waveforms were looking weird on my audio. Having this in my makeup collection, in the regular collection, has been divine, by the way. I've been living my best life, just using it all the time. I'm so excited about it. Because when it wasn't in my permanent collection, I was trying to not use it all of the time, but now that I can have the free reign to just use it as the powder that I want to use, great. Some of these blushes. So I feel like I keep wanting to go into these two because they're the ones that speak to me, which is funny because it's like, this is really warm leaning. I know it looks brown on camera, and I think the context of the other colors being near it make it look more brown, but on the cheek it definitely leads, it's like an orangey kind of color. I haven't used these mauves yet, but I'm not I don't guess they wouldn't not make sense. That's kind of what I've been running into. It's like, what colors? I guess I feel like the way I see this palette, I'm like, this is the most interesting shade. It's the shade Cannoli. I did not check to see if these hands are removable. They don't appear to be magnetic. At least not. I couldn't get them out without really I fucked up one. Of course I did, which is so annoying. Blush palette speech. Let's start it because I'm not a blush palette person. And so this comes into my world already at a disadvantage because I just don't like this kind of thing. I like my blushes to be in their own compact because when this is shut, I don't know what color this is. And you might be saying, well, Tom, it's 6 colors. I understand that, but when this is shut, I don't know what color this is, which means it means no color. There's 6 colors in here, which means no colors to me. So that's not like a bellabeautébar problem. That is just like a problem I have, an experience I feel when I use any blush palette. Once it's closed, it's like, well, I don't know what's going on in there. So let's use Cannoli. That's that brown shade. And these are all matte blushes. And just like their eyeshadow formula, these are really blendable. You don't really have to be incredibly concerned with how much you pick up. I've been doing more heavier blush looks using this palette because I want the blush to show up in my looks because it's I'm trying to show off the palette. But the blushes are pretty hard pressed. The neutral mattes in the eyeshadow palette. They're not very powdery like the neons are in the eyeshadow palette. But this is what I said. This is that brown shade. So if you were expecting it to be brown, it's this color. It's this color. It's like a terracotta, a red, very warm terracotta color. And it has a glow to it because of the highlighter I have on underneath it. So those are the shades. I like these blushes. I'll keep playing with it, but I probably won't keep this palette because it's just, I like my blushes to be in single compacts. And I think like another argument that can be made against my, not disdain for blush palettes, but like the way I feel about blush palettes is like, if I have multiple blushes from one brand, you would think that, but it's like, I know that one of those blushes is that one color, if that makes sense. So that's how my brain works. So like I have 2 Chanel blushes. The compacts are different sizes, so they're pretty distinct whenever I'm looking in my drawers. But even when I had the Pat McGrath blushes, I had 3 at one point, it's like, I knew I was looking for one of those 3 colors. Whereas like, for some reason in a palette, it just like doesn't work the same. I got you zoomed in. Here is their new mascara. It's the Lush Last Mascara. The component for this is pretty nice. It might be metal of some sort. I don't know. Like, it doesn't feel like plastic, but it's always really cold when I touch it, which leads me to believe, sometimes whenever it comes to mascara, containers, I feel like I am like, always like, is it glass? Is it whatever? And let me show you the wand. It's a rubber spiky wand, which will be some of your thing, and it won't be some of your things. This mascara is pretty natural looking. It has good separation. I feel like it gives you like medium volume and it adds some length. But I would say that like it doesn't do anything a lot, if that makes sense. Like with one coat, and that's one coat, it just kind of like, it makes your lashes look pretty good, but like it's not drama. I tend to, with my mascara, like a lot of drama with one swipe. I've said this before, but in case you happen to be like new here, I don't really do more than one coat of mascara and I don't put on false lashes. And so I like my mascara to have a lot of impact on the first go. But I can appreciate something like this. I still think it's really pretty. I think that speaking in terms of like a mascara, I feel like this is really down the middle. Like, I think that people who mostly use mascara as like a finishing step but aren't really concerned about like anything, they just want their lashes to look enhanced, I think that this is the formula for that. I always get mascara all over my lids, which I did again today. I find that normally with the short rubber ones, it's like a little bit easier to not. But I have done 2 coats of this, and I think the second coat is kind of where it's at if you like a little bit of drama. I think that it builds on itself and adds like a lot more length. You do, like, honestly, anytime you're adding like a second coat of mascara, you lose a little bit of that separation that I think that it did really well on the first coat. But I do think it provides a much more dramatic lash on the second go, which is kind of unexpected. I feel like these kinds of mascaras don't often like build really well on themselves. So that's 2 coats to the 1. I haven't gone like a full day wearing this mascara yet, but in the time I've worn it, I haven't really noticed it flaking. I've worked out with it on my eyes before, and I don't feel like it like got runny or smudged into my eyes. I just want to be a proponent for like, I don't think you need to work out with makeup on. I mean, if you do, I understand, because I obviously do. And I'm not really testing the makeup. It's just the way that my day flow has to go a lot of the time is like recording makeup content before working out is like what makes the most sense, just based on everyone in the house's schedule to allow me to record whenever there's a little fanfare going on. It's not my favorite mascara I've ever used, but I don't dislike it. I think that mascara is a very personal journey. The way I described it to you might be like your perfect mascara, and that's great. But I'll stick with my favorite as the Releve mascara from Surratt. And then for lip, I'm probably just gonna do a real quick gloss. I feel like I don't have like a lot of like warm lid products anymore, which is so funny. It's like I did the declutter and then all of a sudden I've started to do warm looks. So let's do this. This is Creativity from Oden's Eye. I'm incredibly satisfied with it. So yeah, let's just do a quick recap on everything that's like launching with bellabeautébar, the new stuff. So the Melted Mattes palette, I wish I liked the brights more. I'm not gonna lie to you. I think if it was just the top 2 rows and you were looking for like a neutral matte palette to just kind of have to take around with you, then I would say I recommend it for that. I don't really love the neons. I'm not gonna lie. I still have some time to play with them. They're not my favorite. They're not my favorite formula from bellabeautébar. I have seen some other people do some really creative looks with them. I think because of that, this wouldn't feel like something that I would want to buy. It's like fun for me to play with, but and like, again, the neon worked on my eyes today. I was complaining about something that didn't happen in my demo. Molten Chromes palette, very into this. I like this little curation of 6 shimmers, and I really like bellabeautébar shimmers. I think they're really, really super impactful. In fact, when I was posting these looks, for some reason, Instagram kept deleting my comment where I told what was on my eyes, but people were like, what is that sparkle on your eyes? It's been coming from here if you follow me on Instagram. Yeah, I think that this is a great little thing. I also think I like the size of it. You know, it's a little bit long. It's giving like Marc Jacobs, like old Marc Jacobs, like length palette, but you could also remove these, which I also really, really like. So I'm very into this. If you want to try bellabeautébar's shimmers, I think that this would be a good start if you're into these colors. And then the blush palette, if you're into blush palettes, perhaps. I just personally am not. This wouldn't be something I would spend my money on. However, it might make a lot more sense to some of you than it makes sense to me. It's not that I don't think it makes sense. For me as a consumer, it wouldn't be something I would spend my money on. If they ever down the line do single compact blushes, maybe not of these blushes, I would be very into them. I think the blush formula is really nice. I haven't had any issues working with it. So I like the formula in it. I think it's really great. If you like blush palettes, then I think you would like it. I also think the size of this is very nice. It fits in the hand really well. Sometimes I think blush palettes oversize their welcome a little bit. Like, here's my powder compact, and it's like half the palette. It is very compact for what it is, for it being a blush palette. So I think it succeeds in a lot of ways for a blush palette, but I just think it didn't prove me wrong. You know how Smoky Glam, that big palette that I got from bellabeautébar, like proved me wrong, sort of like, there are big palettes that I could like, and it turns out to be one of them. That's not what happened with this as a blush palette. And then we have the Lush Lash Mascara. I like it. It's just not my favorite mascara. So, like, if you like the way my lashes look, this is 2 coats, remember? Then I would say go for it, but I also feel like mascara is like very personal. I like one swipe of just, there it is. There's the volume. So I think the component's really gorgeous though. I like interacting with it. All right, that wraps up the video. I will see you in the next. If you're new to my channel and you're not yet subscribed, my channel is mostly about loving my makeup collection as it currently is, which is why this video had like some old stuff, some new stuff. I mostly was, using it as a vehicle to talk about the new stuff. But a lot of what I'm focused on my channel is being very critical of makeup brands, and I want to help you and help myself be more discerning about the makeup that we're buying, because I want us to just make sure we're making the best choices before we decide to buy something. If that sounds good to you, I would love to have you subscribe. Make sure you like this video and leave a comment. I'm on Patreon and I have channel memberships. You can check those out down below if you are interested. There's no pressure to join my Patreon. It's just there as a way to support me, but not a better way to support me, just a different way to support me. Link down below. I also have a link to help a family in Gaza. I got that from Operation Olive Branch. If you have the means to help support them, please do that. And that wraps up the video. Remember to follow your haute and you'll find me. And I'll see you in a video very soon. Go forth. Tits out.